It was a quiet evening when my wife, Natalie, told me she had received a call from her family. Her father had been rushed to the hospital, and the doctors had given him May days to live. It wasn't the first time we'd gotten such calls. Natalie's family had always been prone to health issues, and yet this felt different. Her father's illness was terminal, and her mother, overburdened with medical bills, couldn't afford the treatments. The words hung heavily in the air as she broke down in my arms. What no one knew, however, was that I could have fixed everything with a single phone call. But I had made a choice. I'd kept my wealth a secret from everyone, even my own wife. And now, as her family struggled, it was time for the truth to come out, but not in the way they expected. Before we dive deeper into this story, if you're enjoying this story and want to see more incredible tales of unexpected heroes, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our thrilling content. Trust me, you won't want to miss the next chapter. Now, let's continue with the journey. I am Kendrick, a man with a hidden fortune, who worked diligently behind the scenes to build a business empire. In the eyes of his wife's family, I was just an average man, someone who was lucky to marry into a well-respected family. Little did they know, my life was filled with secrets I could no longer hide. Natalie, my beautiful wife, the woman who didn't deserve the pain her family caused her. She was the glue that held everything together. Her heart was golden, but her family's treatment of me, and their relentless need for financial support, left her emotionally exhausted. My wife's family, a wealthy but dysfunctional family who had always undermined my contributions. They assumed I was just another part of their daughter's lucky marriage. They underestimated me at every turn, not knowing that their son-in-law was a silent giant. The tension between my wife and her family had been simmering for years. I had always tried to help, but my assistance was seen as charity, not support. Natalie's father, though a proud man, resented my success, convinced that my wealth was too much for his daughter. He preferred to see me as someone lucky to be with her, not as a capable, powerful man in his own right. As Natalie prepared to go to her father's side, she received another call, this time from her older brother, who spoke in hushed tones.
He doesn't want your help. He's refusing treatment because he believes you're too busy, that you've got too much to deal with. He doesn't even want us to ask you for money.
My heart sank. Her family had always seen my wealth as something to be ashamed of. They wanted me to stay in the shadows, to remain a humble man of the house, not to stand out. This wasn't just a family of pride and arrogance. There was something dark at play. That evening, I made my decision. It was time to reveal everything. But I wasn't going to do it the way they expected. It was time for them to understand who I truly was. As I made the phone call to the hospital, arranging for my father-in-law's treatment, I noticed Natalie's eyes were filled with uncertainty. She had always known I was wealthy, but she had no idea the full extent. That night, I invited her to a private dinner at our home. "Do you remember when we first met?" I asked, my voice steady but filled with emotion. She nodded. "I told you I was a simple man with a few savings." Her eyes narrowed, sensing the tension. "I lied," I said, leaning forward. "I am not just a simple man. I'm the owner of Blackstone Enterprises, a multi-billion-dollar company, one of the most successful tech conglomerates in the world. And I've been keeping it all a secret." Her jaw dropped. The silence between us was thick, laden with a million emotions. Betrayal, confusion, and disbelief. My confession was both a relief and a burden. I was about to lose everything, but I was also about to take back control of my destiny. The next day, I arrived at the hospital to speak with Natalie's family. Her father was sitting up, looking frail but determined. His eyes met mine with an intensity that said everything. "You came," he said, his voice laced with pride and anger.
But what are you really doing here?
I'm here to make sure you get the treatment you need, I said, meeting his gaze. I made arrangements with the best specialists. You'll be fine. The room went cold. Natalie's mother looked at me as though I were a stranger. Her eyes spoke volumes, but her mouth remained shut. The tension was unbearable. You think you can buy our respect with money, her father spat, trying to keep his anger in check. I'm not trying to buy your respect, I said calmly. I'm here because I love your daughter, and I will do anything to protect her, and you. But it wasn't over. The true test was yet to come. As Natalie's father's treatment began, the bitterness between the family and me only grew. My wife's brother, David, suddenly appeared with an offer to help with the medical bills. But there was something off about his attitude. He wouldn't allow me to pay for the treatment directly. Something didn't sit right. 2 weeks later, Natalie and I were awakened in the middle of the night by the sound of frantic knocks on our door. Her father had collapsed. This time, he was beyond help. But what followed was even more devastating. David had been embezzling money from the family's own investments to line his pockets. And now, he was trying to pin the blame on me. He accused me of hiding the truth and using my wealth to manipulate the family. Natalie, devastated and confused, couldn't believe what was happening. As the situation spiraled out of control, I realized something even more sinister was at play. The family's financial troubles, their sudden animosity towards me, and their relentless attempts to undermine me had all been a cover-up for something darker. But what was it? I couldn't yet put the pieces together. Just as I was about to confront David, a mysterious figure from my past resurfaced. Someone who knew my secret life before Natalie. Someone with a vendetta. Suddenly, everything changed. The weight of the family's pride, their resentment towards me, and their buried secrets were too much for Natalie to handle. She began pulling away, unsure of who to trust. I'm standing in front of my wife, trying to explain the truth of my past, when the phone rang. It's David. I know who you really are, he said, his voice shaking with fear and rage. And I'm going to expose everything. Your empire, your secret life, all of it. The room goes cold. A storm is coming, and this time, it's not just about the family. It's about the life I've worked so hard to build, and the people I love who might be lost in the fallout. The air was thick with tension. It had been a week since Natalie's father's sudden collapse. Every minute felt like an eternity as we watched him struggle, clinging to life despite the best treatments. Her family, who had once dismissed me as just a lucky man, now had no choice but to rely on me. But the truth wasn't just about money. It was about the one thing that had been hidden for so long, the truth about who I really was. It had taken me months to come to this moment, the moment where I would confront the demons of my past, expose the lies, and prove that the man her family had so often underestimated had the power to change everything. But as the clock ticked, I realized that this time, it wasn't just about saving my wife's family. It was about saving myself. And more importantly, saving the woman I loved. It started with a phone call from David, Natalie's older brother. His voice, always filled with bravado, now quivered with something else. Faye.
You think you can walk in here and save the day? This family doesn't need you.
David spat out. His words, drenched in venom, sent a shiver down my spine. I had always known there was something about David. He'd been the black sheep of the family, the one who had always resented the fact that I was married to his sister, the one who couldn't fathom why she would marry a man who didn't come from the same elite circle. But this was different. His voice carried an ominous undertone.
I'm going to expose you, and everything will be destroyed.
He threatened, before slamming the phone down. At that moment, I knew this had nothing to do with money anymore. David wasn't trying to protect the family. He was protecting a much bigger secret, a secret that had the potential to destroy everything. I called Natalie, who had been staying by her father's bedside, updating me on his condition. I could hear the pain in her voice. "Natalie, I need to tell you something. You're not going to like it, but you need to hear the truth." Her voice cracked.
What's going on, Kendrick? You're scaring me.
"I'm not who you think I am. I've never been just your average guy." I paused, the weight of my words feeling heavier than ever. "I'm the owner of Blackstone Enterprises. I've built a multi-billion-dollar tech empire from the ground up, and I've kept it a secret from you and your family, not because I wanted to, but because I thought it was the right thing to do." There was a silence on the other end of the line, the kind of silence that spoke volumes. Finally, she whispered,
Why didn't you tell me?
"I didn't want to be known for my wealth, Natalie. I didn't want to be seen as just a guy with money. I wanted to be loved for who I am, not what I have. But now I realize that hiding the truth only made things worse." Her voice shook as she responded,
I don't know what to say, Kendrick. I thought I knew you, but this is too much.
"I know. I'm sorry. But there's more. It's not just about the money. There's something you don't know about your brother. Something dangerous." David's secret wasn't just his resentment towards me. It was something far darker. He had been embezzling money from their family's business investments for years. And now, as their financial situation grew more dire, he saw his chance to pin the blame on me. I began piecing things together, David's sudden bursts of anger, his desperate attempts to keep me out of family decisions, and his failure to take responsibility for his actions. But I had no idea the extent of his betrayal until I uncovered evidence of his shady dealings. He had been laundering money, covering his tracks by involving shady characters who had deep ties to organized crime. If I didn't expose him now, everything would unravel, and my wife's family would be left with nothing. But I had to act carefully. A direct confrontation would only make things worse. I knew that it was time to confront David face to face. I had to show him that the game was over, that his days of manipulating the family were numbered. But I also had to protect Natalie from the fallout. I called a family meeting, where everyone gathered in the living room of their mansion, the place where it all began. Natalie sat beside me, her eyes red from days of sleepless nights. Her family looked on, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. David stood at the front, his arms crossed, looking smug.
"So, you think you can come in here and fix everything? You think you're the hero? You've been hiding in the shadows long enough, Kendrick. Now it's time to reveal your true self."
"Actually," I said, standing up, "you're the one who's been hiding something, and it's time to expose it." I pulled out a file from my briefcase and slammed it onto the table. The family's eyes widened as I revealed documents detailing David's criminal activities, evidence of his embezzlement, money laundering, and the illegal deals he had made with dangerous individuals. David's face turned pale.
"You don't have proof of anything."
He spat, trying to regain control of the situation. "I don't need proof," I said coldly. "The truth is right here, and everyone in this room can see it. You've been deceiving this family for years." Her father, who had been quiet up until this point, stood up slowly. His eyes, once filled with pride and disdain for me, softened.
David, what have you done?
David's smugness crumbled as he realized there was no way out. His father's disappointed gaze was the final blow. With nowhere left to run, he collapsed into a chair, his hands trembling.
I never wanted any of this.
He muttered. With David's secrets exposed, the family was left in shock. But it didn't take long for the truth to set them free. Natalie's father, though initially furious, realized that my actions weren't about showing off my wealth. They were about protecting his family from the dangers they hadn't seen. David was arrested and taken away by the authorities, his future uncertain. But the damage had already been done. Natalie's family was left with broken trust and shattered illusions about the man they thought they knew. As for me, I realized something important. Being rich didn't make me special. It wasn't my money that made me a hero. It was my willingness to stand up for the people I loved, to fight for them when they couldn't fight for themselves. I had kept my wealth hidden, not to deceive, but to protect the values I believed in. Natalie, though shaken by the truth, slowly began to understand. In the end, it wasn't my wealth that saved the day. It was my integrity, my love for her, and the unwavering commitment to doing what was right, no matter the cost. Weeks later, we stood together, stronger than ever. David's criminal empire had crumbled, but our relationship had grown deeper. Natalie had forgiven me for keeping secrets, and we were rebuilding the trust that had been lost. As we stood hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next, I realized that sometimes the greatest victories aren't in money or power. They're in the moments when you choose to be the person who does what's right, even when no one is watching. The family eventually moved on, learning the importance of honesty and loyalty over wealth. Natalie and I continued our journey together, side by side. The challenges we faced had only made us stronger, and our bond, forged through fire, was unbreakable. David, however, would forever be a shadow in the past, a reminder that not even the strongest empire could withstand the weight of betrayal. And so, as we looked toward the future, the tables had finally turned. But the true hero had always been the one who never needed to prove his worth, only to do the right thing when it mattered most.